Are you careful with what you put inside of your body? I'm not. Hello everyone, I'm Lost, and today we are reviewing every crystal tear from base game Elden Ring and the DLC. Cut to transition. Here, we have the generic 2-for-1 combo of the Crimson Crystal Tears. Having one of these in your flask will recover 50% of your health, and while I'm not a math scientist, it stands to reason that putting 2 of this tear in your flask will fill your health bar all the way up to 100%. Look, I feel like a mildly disappointed parent looking at a child who has just explained that their dream job is working middle management at a phone survey company. Just why? You could aspire to be so many cool things and this is what you choose. But I can't complain too much. Health is always useful, and since this is one of the first tiers that you get, it's automatically something that you will equip. I will give this the quintessential 5.5 out of 10. If you are like me, then you like to repeatedly stab people in the face with sharp implements. If so, then the cerulean snapping tear is a very good match for you. After ingestion, you now have 45 seconds where any physical hit will give you a 5 FP back, which, if you combine it with any sort of Ash of War that hits multiple times, you now have basically infinite usage of it. A 6.8 out of 10. We all have those days where we feel useless. During that time, it's worth remembering that this thing exists. The Crimson Spill Crystal Tear gives you a measly 10% extra max health. Not only is that awful in a vacuum, it is outperformed by every other healing tier in Elden Ring, which includes the first tier you get in the game. If that wasn't enough, here is an extra insult to go with that injury. When it gives you that extra 10% of health, it doesn't even heal it. Whoever designed this should be drop-kicked in the face. 1 out of 10. To be honest, I have never used this tier. Not even once. So I will allow my assistant Thumby to explain this one.
Oh. Well, the Twiggy cracked tier lets you keep your runes when you die, unless you die to Death Blight. Is it really necessary that I showcase that?
Yes.
Okay. Oh ow 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 oh ow ow ow. I cannot possibly communicate the tremendous amount of pain that I'm in.
Ugh, if you want something done right. The Twiggy tier does have some uses. You can test if a fall is deadly, or if you died in a particularly annoying area and need to get your runes back. I can see the potential. But I'm not a big fan of equipping things for when I die. I'd rather use something to help me avoid dying. What do you think, Thumby?
I don't want to live anymore. 4 out of 10.
The Viridian Hidden Tear is one of the few crystals in the game that aims to give you that hero moment. 15 seconds of infinite stamina might not sound like much according to my wife, but it gives you just enough time to get the upper hand by doing something incredibly badass. 9.1 out of 10. A healing tear, but not for you. The Crimson Burst Dried Tear gives regen for 3 minutes, but only to your allies. If they are standing next to you, and by next to you, I mean close enough to where personal space has become communal space. The range basically makes this tier useless. 2 out of 10. The real issue, however, is what kind of person has friends?
But Lost. I thought I was your friend.
That's nice, Thumby, but you don't count.
That makes my emotions sad.
These 5 crystal tears are destined for a life of obsolescence. Each one of these gives a +10 to boost their respective stats. You can find some utility in that, squeezing out a little extra nugget of damage for early on in your run, but eventually As your character stats creeps closer and closer to the soft cap, these tiers find themselves in the Toy Story 3 situation, except they never make it out of Act 1, forever stuck in the attic or on the curb as trash. 4.5 out of 10. This tier is scary, both for you and whatever you're fighting. It gives you a hefty 20% extra damage for 3 minutes at the cost of constantly draining health. I would not recommend this to any player that likes to take their time and defeat their opponents with precision strikes. Seeing your HP slowly drain like that is not conducive to productive stress levels. But if your level of aggression reaches that of an enraged moose with brain damage that wants to stomp their enemies until they're nothing but a bloody pulp, go for it. 7.2 out of 10. This is the actual useful, if not slightly boring brother of the Crimson Spill Crystal tier, giving you an extra max 15% stamina for 3 minutes. However, I struggle seeing a situation where I would use this over any of the more interesting tiers. At the very least, you find this tier fairly early on, giving it some semblance of relevancy. 5 out of 10.
Hi everyone, sorry for the intrusion, but did you know that Lost has a Patreon? The newest video is already out there for anyone who wants early access. Lost even promised that when we get more than 10 patrons he will start feeding me. I really wanna taste spaghetti.
Using the Crimson Sapping Crack tier is like trying to chop down a tree with the frozen salmon. It's just not very effective. It restores less than 1% of your max health with each hit, which means that if you have the recommended 60 vigor that grants 1900 health, each hit will give you around 14 HP. That could perhaps have been good on certain super aggressive builds if it wasn't for the fact that the duration lasts for 45 seconds, and in order to use this, you have to put yourself in danger. Compare this to the Crimson Burst tier, which gives you a passive regen of 7 HP per second over 3 minutes, healing a total of 1260 HP. You get a sense of how useless the Crimson Sapping Crack tier really is. This is the kind of thing that Elon Musk would use on his build. 2.5 out of 10 for the Crimson Sapping tier, and a clean 7 for the Crimson Burst tier. Imagine drinking something that immediately makes your body sweat oil. Then you rub yourself against your enemies, coating them in your bodily excretions, making them take 20% extra fire damage, on top of making them feel very uncomfortable. If you don't have any issues invading somebody's personal space, I don't, then it's a fantastic tier for you to use. It lasts for 1 minute, which allows you to stack enough fire damage to turn any boss into a human-sized pile of ash. 8.5 out of 10. Who doesn't love sucking down a concoction that fills your entire body with the power of either lightning, fire, magic, or finger Jesus? 20% extra elemental damage in PvE and 12% extra damage in PvP. Making your lightning more lightningy, magic more magicy, fire more fiery, and the holy more holy. All of these are classics, and I do not leave home without them. 9.5 out of 10. It's understandable if you think that the Ruptured Crystal tier that makes you go boom is nothing more than a meme. That just means that you haven't participated in that magnificent act of tarnished on tarnished violence. Just look at this. Meme? Yes. Bad? No. It's hilarious, and it's a 9 out of 10. We've been here before. The Cerulean Crystal tier is basically the same as the Crimson Crystal tier, but exchange health for magic. It's the bog standard 5.5 out of 10. Giving this tier a score feels wrong, considering it's a gimmick tier that only works in a very specific instance. With this tier, you purify yourself from whatever blood disease Mog tries to give you during your fight. It's nice to have, but very easy to miss your first time through the game. Didn't matter to me though, I healed my way through the entire heal segment, murdering Mog after 3 attempts. Not applicable. With this tier, I feel like FromSoft forgot what kind of game they made. The Opaline Bubble tier allows you to face tank a singular hit from any enemy in the game, only taking a minimal amount of damage, which assumes that the bosses in Elden Ring don't attack you more relentlessly than a meth head flailing around for his last bag of reality-altering substances. In PvP, this thing might as well signal to the invader that you are easy prey, as the bubble will be burst shortly after you have activated it by a fan dagger. It's not useless though. It's a nice fit for anybody doing a low-level run or a glass cannon build who wants just that little extra amount of protection. 6 out of 10. The Opaline hard tier may look a bit like a hemorrhoid, but this tier is anything but ass. It increases your defense by a solid 15% and it lasts for 3 minutes, getting stabbed, bonked, burned, slashed, electrocuted, pelted by magical projectiles, or being yelled at by the servants of Space God now hurt less. You don't need to spend any brain power on figuring out which one is the most dangerous in this specific instance, because this tier guards you against everything. 8 out of 10. This tier is kind of useful if you have ghost minions. But honestly, I found it to be the embodiment of meh. Your Spirit Summon gets a extra 7.5 damage boost for 3 minutes. I just cannot summon enough focus to care. 4 out of 10. The Speckled Heart tier is the wondrous physic equivalent of a deep anal cleanse. Take a deep breath and feel the toxins leave your body. I feel like this tier is underappreciated in today's Elden Ring climate. Having it cure both your blood, rot, poison, madness, sleep, or death buildup while also buffing your resistances is very nice. 7 out of 10. As a staunch Elden Ring PvP player, I see the value in this where other people don't. One of my favorite strategies when going up against a gank is to combine this with the Crimson World Bubble tier to become a walking god for the next 10 seconds. Yeah, its short duration makes it basically useless for PvE situations, but for PvP, 10 seconds is enough time to eviscerate a phantom, which then will lower the amount of pressure that the host and his remaining buddy can apply. Still, being reliant on another one of the crystal tiers to be viable is a huge flaw. I feel like I'm being generous here by giving this a 5.5 out of 10. I like to drink this in the faces of mages and then just stand there for 15 seconds and watch while they helplessly throw away their blue juice. For PvE, this tier hardly gets any use. There are a few moments where it has saved me, like when Promised Consort Radahn first initiated the orbital laser, or when Midra decided to go for the mid-fight faceplant explosion, but that's a very niche use for this tier. It really feels like something that was made for PvP. Something to give you a few seconds to level the playing field, like the Leaden Heart tier we just discussed. Unlike the Leaden Heart tier though, this tier works nicely on its own. So, 8.5 out of 10. I think of this as an actual useful version of the Opaline Bubble tier. After drinking, you receive a ball of glowing light that nestles in your stomach until you get abused hard enough for the ball of light to go, "Hey there buddy, don't worry, I'll heal ya." It's a buff that lasts for 3 minutes and the healing occurs once your health goes down below 20% of max health. It should be said though that a lot of the DLC bosses have attacks that are so powerful that they bypass the activation of the tier and you just die. Still, if you do PvP, then it's a nice addition, as most of the issues that plague boss fights shouldn't be a problem when fighting another Tarnished. 7.2 out of 10. This is the Mage Edition Hero tier. Cerulean Hidden tier allows you to act like a conduit of primordial forces, channeling all of that power into your own destructive means. To put it more simply, you now have 15 seconds of infinite FP to melt people's faces off. Whether it is the Laser Beam, Madness Fire, or Estelle's Meteor Summon, the Cerulean Hidden tier allows you unbridled access to peak power fantasy, and that's worth at least 9.3 out of 10. The Windy Crystal tier is a weird one. I never use it. Why? That's an actual question, I don't know. It gives you extra iframe on your dodges, and it's pretty generous with that, but you do take extra damage. Maybe it's because you take extra damage that I don't like it, but I simply don't ever use it. Do you use it? Somebody in the comment section. If you really like this tier, let me know. Until then, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. Why not? If you are morbidly obese and for some reason find that to be inconvenient, then the Winged Crystal tier is for you. For the next 3 minutes, both you and your conscience are light as a feather. Fat rolling is a thing of the past, so why not fill each one of your equipment slots with weapons so heavy that under normal circumstances it would break your spine? But don't worry, you got the physic. What could possibly go wrong? Oh yeah, it expires. In a duel setting, it can be pretty good. But if you're fighting a boss or find yourself in an invasion and you rely on this tier, well, it feels a little bit like you are inviting disaster. Still, it can make you powerful for a while, and I can't deny that you basically got pocket access to light rolls if you're running a normal build. 6.6 out of 10. I think the words we are looking for here are classic. The aggression build where every consecutive hit makes you stronger has never not been good in Elden Ring, and the Thorny Cracked tier has always been an important piece of that puzzle. Combine this with all of the talisman that do the same, and every hit you inflict on the enemy will bring you that much closer to demigod status. 9.2 out of 10. The Spiked Cracked tier gives your charged heavy attacks 15% extra damage, which is nice, but the true power of this thing is that you can stack more buffs onto that than a 9-year-old can stack while playing Legos. Axe Talisman, War Cry, Roar Medallion, Two-Handed Talisman, the list goes on. Or maybe it doesn't. Look, I'm not gonna look more stuff up, but it's an 8.8 out of 10. Yeah, sure, the Stonebark Cracked tier only lasts for about 30 seconds, but that should be more than enough time to permanently confine bosses like Mesmer or Midra to a wheelchair. The extra stance damage this tier gives you is extraordinary, and you can even combine it with Spiked Cracked tier for even more synergy. It is so much fun to use, super satisfying, and you should be using it. 8.9 out of 10. I don't use this enough. I really don't. Stamina management is something we all struggle with. Once Consort Radahn starts summoning Caesar-inducing levels of concentrated deathlight, then it's easy to start smashing the roll button like it was your childhood bully's face. That's when you need a Green Burst Crystal tier. It's a buff of 15 extra recovery per second that lasts for 3 minutes, which usually is how long you spend in a boss fight or PvP encounter. Complement that with a little turtle talisman and a pickled turtle neck, you will have more stamina than you know what to do with. The only bad thing about this is that once you get used to playing with it, when it runs out, you feel like your character spontaneously developed asthma. 9.7 out of 10. Do you sometimes feel like there is an unfortunate lack of Sekiro when you are playing Elden Ring? Well, someone at FromSoft agreed with you and inserted this little gem of a crystal tear into the game. Not only will a perfect block negate all physical damage from any weapon and 75% of elemental damage, it will also increase the damage of guard counters with a lot. Look, I don't know how much, I'm not a number scientist, but in my opinion, the true greatness of this tier is that it allows you to play the game in a different way. It introduces a new dimension to the gameplay, a bigger skill ceiling. Try killing Melania with this active, it's a game changer, and the pun was not intended, but I will take it nonetheless. And you don't even have to worry about it running out, as it lasts for a whopping 5 minutes. This is a 10 out of 10.
Hey everyone, Lost said it was okay for me to do the outro, so remember to subscribe to the like button. Did I do it right?